breaking down the deals, data, and disruption shaping global markets. You're listening to The Daily Ledger with Dennis Sert.
Hey folks, today is Tuesday. No, today's Wednesday, my bad. November 19th, 2025. You're listening to The Daily Ledger, and I'm your host, Dennis Sert. I'm upgrading my setup a little bit. Decided to invest a little bit in a 4K camera and a better mic. So, as well as an Ethernet cable. So I think starting tomorrow, the stream is going to be a little higher quality. So I'm kind of excited for that. But yeah, so let's just get into the news here. So our first story is going to be the Cloudflare debacle that happened yesterday. So we have the story from the Financial Times. ChatGPT and X hit by outage at online security group Cloudflare. U.S. company finds no evidence of malicious activity and blames incident on crash in the software system. Yeah, so this actually canceled the show yesterday. It was crazy. I went up to stream and then I saw I couldn't access X. I couldn't access anything. I was like, oh no. Online security group Cloudflare suffers a widespread global outage on Tuesday, forcing popular sites such as X and OpenAI's ChatGPT to go offline for some users. Yeah, so it's kind of tough. Hopefully they figured that out. All right, let's move on to this story. So this is kind of dabbling into politics a little bit, but I think the only reason I wanted to go over this is because I think it's going to have reverberating effects on sort of the economy and financial news. Okay, so this is from Axios. U.S. secretly drafting new plan to end Ukraine war. Apparently, it's a 28-point plan. So it says the 28-point U.S. plan is inspired by President Trump's successful push for a deal in Gaza. A top Russian official told Axios he's optimistic about the plan. It's unclear how Ukraine and European backers feel about it. Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, is leading the drafting of the plan and has discussed it extensively with Russian envoy Kirill Dmitriev. And apparently Dmitriev felt really good about it. He said, we feel the Russian position is really being heard. So this is interesting because obviously previously, because Russia wasn't sort of happy about any of the previous deals that were sort of put on the table, because they're saying that they need the root causes of the conflict to be addressed. And without getting into it, I guess it sort of has to do with Ukraine being in NATO, security guarantees, like whether Ukraine's status as a potential Ukraine's status as a potential NATO candidate. So there's that. There's other things regarding security guarantees. But I'm just going to leave it there. But that's sort of what the Russians mean when they say the root causes. Yeah, so there's that. So this is interesting. The reason why I wanted to go over this is because, again, it seems like this time the peace deal may actually go through because it's kind of coming from the US and Russia rather than the EU and Ukraine. So this should be interesting to see. We'll have to follow this closely. Let's move on to this news story. US lends $1 billion to 3 Mile Island nuclear project. The Pennsylvania site, shorthand for the dangers of nuclear power after a 1979 meltdown, is set for revival under a deal to power Microsoft data centers. Yeah, so it looks like they're reviving nuclear power. And of course, other big tech companies are also sort of investing in nuclear power to power their AI data centers. Apparently, Microsoft is also pushing for sort of a nuclear fusion site, which hasn't really been seen before, and it's projected to be operational by 2028. That's the fusion site. We'll have to see. This one here, the 3 Mile Island nuclear project, is set to be operational in 2027. And it goes into it here. Attitudes towards nuclear power have softened in the U.S., getting political support from both the Republicans and Democrats. China has leapfrogged the U.S. in nuclear power, and while it has similar safety standards, its approval system is more predictable. The Trump administration has said it wants to reduce regulations at the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, which certifies that a reactor is safe before it's built. President Trump signed an executive order in May directing the agency to take no more than 18 months to approve applicants for new reactors. Yeah, so this is kind of crazy. The 3 Mile Island restart project would help ensure America has the energy it needs to grow its domestic manufacturing base and win the AI race. So this sort of ties directly into what we saw Bill Gates post on October 28th. So 3 weeks ago-ish. He basically said we should no longer focus on climate energy. It's kind of interesting. He says, so in these like notes that it's like at gatesnotes.com, he himself says, unfortunately, this doomsday outlook is causing much of the climate community to focus too much on near-term emissions goals. Well, that's probably because all of the big tech companies, including Microsoft, are now pursuing nuclear-powered energy to power their data centers. So I was sort of talking about this yesterday, but I got cut out quite a bit. And that's actually why I'm here. I'm connected to the Ethernet, so that doesn't happen again. But yeah, so there's that. Okay. Let's move on to this story here. Nvidia results and delayed job data set up critical test for Wall Street. Releases will provide key signals for investors after a significant market pullback. So it seems like there was some selling off of Nvidia that was going on. So it kind of talks about that in this article. And then we talked about how yesterday Peter Thiel dumped a bunch of shares. Yeah. Another thing that's happening is that the FOMC meeting, so basically the meeting notes for the past month are being posted tomorrow. So the market's sort of waiting on that. And then so in terms of the first thing that I just mentioned, the Nvidia thing, this article by the Financial Times sort of goes into that. SoftBank's finance chief noted Tuesday that the sale is nothing personal. It's kind of like that Better Call Saul meme where it's Hector Salamanca, and then the other guy's like, Hector, this isn't personal. And then Hector goes, it is personal. It's like a huge meme right now on Instagram Reels. But yeah. So that's what's going on here. A whole bunch of people are pulling out of Nvidia. So yeah, so that's what's going on at the moment with that. Okay. And then this, there's a paywall, but basically this article here is also supporting the fact that people are waiting the Fed minutes, which is coming out tomorrow. Okay. This is yet another one saying that. Okay. Let's refresh this Polymarket just on that thread. Let's refresh this Polymarket graph for what people think is going to happen for the Fed decision in December. So looks like on the 15th, 16th, and 17th, possibly the 18th. Yeah. So a few days ago, leading up to yesterday, no change was actually higher than a 25 basis point decrease. But now it seems like the 25 basis points decrease has gone up slightly, as it was before. So now it's at 56% and no changes at 42%. So perhaps a return to some confidence that Jerome Powell will cut in December. We'll have to see. Yeah, Bitcoin also, just moving on, is also kind of down. I think at one point it went below, possibly near 90K. I don't think it actually went below. Did it? I'm trying to look at this graph. Looks like the low was at 90K, $13. Yeah. Does it say here? No. Oh, looks like it did. Okay, it says the low was 89,970. Okay, wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Well, right now it's at 91,692.58 or 78. I guess my mouse was over a previous data point. But yeah, okay. That's sort of all I wanted to talk about in terms of the headlines. Let's dive into Byte AI, which of course sponsors the Daily Ledger. Byte AI is a data aggregation tool. It's basically like an investing copilot that's AI powered. It aggregates data like technical indicators, as in the RSI curve, signal, MACD curve, Bollinger Bands. Also aggregates news sentiment, and it kind of takes both of those together and then outputs a succinct and concise piece of advice. But it's not really advice. In fact, officially, it's not a financial advisor. So again, Byte AI is not a financial advisor. It's simply a tool that you can use to help better stay informed, much like the Wall Street Journal is, much like the New York Times is, etc. Because those aren't financial advisors either. And remember that past success doesn't guarantee future results. So there's that. Okay. I wonder which one we should start with as soon as it loads. Okay, let's start with Meta. Meta currently shows, so first of all, Meta is classified as underbought. Meta currently shows an extreme underbought signal with RSI near 28. That is quite low, actually. The price sits close to the lower Bollinger Band with a narrow bandwidth, suggesting a higher probability of mean reversion rather than continuation of the down move. MACD is near the signal line with only a mild bearish tilt, indicating limited downside momentum rather than a fresh decline. News sentiment is broadly neutral to mildly bullish, with tailwinds from regulatory signals around social platforms and broader tech leadership. Broadly neutral with pockets of mild bullishness. Okay. All right, Tesla, underbought. Tesla shows clear oversold conditions. RSI at 40.17 indicates underbought momentum, and the price is reported to be significantly below the lower Bollinger Band, about 154% below. Wow, that's pretty underbought. With a narrow Bollinger bandwidth around 3.30, suggesting a potential near-term mean reversion setup. Okay. New sentiment is moderately bullish with positive catalysts from EV, battery, material momentum, and AI narratives. Though regulatory and governance risk remains a potential source of volatility. Okay. Taken together, these factors point towards a contrarian buying opportunity that could outperform a buy and hold stance if the mean reversion occurs, but with disciplined risk controls. Phased entry, tight stops near the mid-band, and confirmation signals. Okay. Let's do Amazon. Amazon, underbought. Amazon shows an extremely underbought technical setup. The RSI is 29.9. At 29.9 confirms oversold territory, and the price is sitting at or near the Bollinger Band, the lower Bollinger Band, with a very tight bandwidth, indicating a squeeze and potential mean reversion towards the mid-band. The MACD is close to the signal line with a mild bearish tilt, suggesting limited downside momentum rather than an imminent breakout. New sentiment is cautiously bullish on AI momentum and durable growth, providing a supportive backdrop for a mean reversion bounce, even as macro tech weakness caps near-term upside. Overall, Amazon sentiment skews cautiously bullish in the near term, with recent headlines emphasizing AI momentum. Okay. Nice. All right. Everything else I have here in this portfolio is neutral. I think we can leave it there. I'm excited for the new setup, so that should be coming in tomorrow. Again, make sure to download Byte AI. It's available as an iOS app. You can get it just by going onto the App Store and looking at Byte AI, or by going to byteai.me in the top right corner here, byteai.me, where you can again download it as an iOS app, or you can access it via the web app as I just did here, and you can access it all day. Make sure to use the discount code podcast20 to get a 20% discount if you're accessing it via the web app, and you can apply that at Stripe checkout. And you only have to do that once, and then that kind of carries over to your account in iOS. Cool. All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.